Hello guys, today we will discuss about some interesting facts about Spider-Man No Way Home. Did you know Tom Holland helped to save this movie from cancellation by forcing renegotiations between Sony and Disney? Under the terms of the new deal, not only does Spider-Man No Way Home still take place within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Spider-Man can also appear in future MCU movies, as well as Sony's own Spider-Man franchise. This film marks the first MCU trilogy to be directed by the same director, Jon Watts. All previous film franchises, such as Iron Man, The Avengers, and Captain America, had only 2 movies that had consistent directors through their respective trilogies. MJ works in a restaurant called Peter Pan Donut and Pastry Shop. It appears in the opening and closing of the movie. This is a real place in Brooklyn, NY. However, as the movie was shot in Georgia, the production visited the real location, photographed it, then built a reproduction for the shoot. The real staff in the real Peter Pan's is thrilled they are now part of the MCU. While on the roof of the school near the beginning of the film, there is some graffiti that says, Ditko. Steve Ditko was the co-creator of Spider-Man, Doctor Strange and all 5 villains in this movie, all with Stan Lee. The Ditko tag also appears on the side of a FEAST truck parked at Happy's apartment building. In the scene on the bridge where Doc Ock first appears, a license plate reads 63ASM3. The Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 1, Issue 3, released in 1963, was the first appearance of Dr. Octopus. Earlier drafts of the film were very much different than the finished product. The script primarily focused on Peter's galactic adventures with a character based on space, probably Skrulls or Captain Marvel, as hinted in the post-credits scene of Spider-Man, Far From Home, 2019. However, that storyline was dropped in favor of setting up Secret Invasion, 2022, and a completely new script was written after the new deal between Sony and Disney in 2019, focusing on the multiverse instead. The shot of the highway has a sign saying that traffic is leading to George Washington Bridge, best known in Spider-Man lore for being where Gwen Stacy was killed in the comics. Meanwhile, the highway itself is shown to be near the Queensboro Bridge, also known as the bridge that Green Goblin dropped Mary Jane from Spider-Man, 2002. Tom Holland's little brother, Harry, was supposed to have a cameo as a drug dealer in the film, as he did in the film, Cherry, 2021. But shortly before the film was released, Holland revealed in an interview that the scene had been cut. The film became Sony's highest-grossing film in history, earned $1.6 billion in its first 11 days at the box office. Actress, Lexi Robb, who played Morgan Stark in Avengers Endgame, 2019, reportedly had a small role in the film but was cut in the final production, as the producers thought that the film already had too many characters, while Sony was actively trying to keep Spider-Man free of a Stark influence. The film's opening with audio from the end of the previous film, Spider-Man, Far From Home, 2019, with J. Jonah Jameson revealing Spider-Man's identity, is very similar to the opening of Iron Man 2, 2010, with audio from the last scene of Iron Man, 2008, being heard from when Tony Stark revealed his identity to the world. Spoilers alert. Willem Dafoe would only agree to reprise his role as the Green Goblin on the condition that he still be allowed to perform the majority of his own stunts like he did in Spider-Man, 2002. Like in the original Spider-Man movie, Willem Dafoe once again wore prosthetic teeth as Norman Osborn and his real teeth were shown for the Green Goblin persona. When Doctor Strange smacks Peter's astral form out of his body, it can be seen that Peter's head has transparent versions of the classic wavy spider sense lines. In the end, when Tom Holland's Spider-Man bids farewell to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's incarnations, he hugs the 2 of them before taking off, pleading how grateful he is to have gotten the opportunity to get this kind of help from other Spider-Men. This scene was actually improvised by Holland. Wong is now Sorcerer Supreme because Strange was snapped and was gone for 5 years. This is the first time it's been outright explained, though it does cause the ending and mid-credits of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 2021, to make a little more sense. He appears to take this job very seriously except when he's off doing karaoke with the cast of Shang-Chi. Months before the film's release, footage of Andrew Garfield on set was leaked. It contained no audio and showed Garfield in Spider-Man costume, leaning on a railing and mouthing a sentence. The footage led to a heavy debate on the internet whether the footage was real or deepfaked. The footage later turned out to be real, and takes place when the 3 Spider-Men are discussing Maguire's web fluid being natural. The moment that leaked online was when Garfield's Spider-Man asked, "Do you ever get web block?" At the end of the film, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is seen wearing a brand new suit. It is suggested it no longer contains any functions from Stark Industries since Peter Parker is forgotten by everyone and would no longer have access to it, especially since he has lost his connection with Happy Hogan. When Sandman turns back into his human form, the footage seen is reused footage of Thomas Hayden Church from Spider-Man 3, 2007. The reason Tom Hardy's Venom is pulled into the verse is actually explained in the end credits of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, 2021. Just before he's pulled in, Venom tells Eddie that the symbiotes share a hive mind across universes, meaning multiverses as well. Therefore Venom knew Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker because Topher Grace's Venom did. He remembered being Spider-Man's suit in that universe. This could also explain why Grace's Venom was not pulled in as the spell grabbed a different version of the same symbiote. Andrew Garfield was flooded with questions about his involvement in the film, which he consistently denied even as it overshadowed the press tours of The Eyes of Tammy Faye, 2021, and Tick, Tick, Boom, 2021. Andrew Garfield eventually lied by claiming that he and Tobey Maguire would not be returning when pressed for details, noting that he would hope to make a film with them one day. And he said this only 3 days after the soundtrack leak, reportedly averted with Maguire, as some fans who claim they took photos with him said that he hinted at his involvement with the film in an off-the-record, NDA-friendly fashion. When Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans are teleporting back to their universes, they wave to each other in a specific manner that is a nod to the popular Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. It also appears drawn as part of the ending credits. This film and Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, 2018, recreated the famous and hilarious meme of the two Spider-Men pointing at each other. This meme originated from the Spider-Man 1967 cartoon series. The meme comes from Season 1 Episode 19, Double Identity, which is about a thief named Charles Cameo who decides to impersonate Spider-Man to steal art treasures. The real Peter Parker, Spider-Man, shows up to stop him and they end up pointing at each other. This scene became a meme in 2011, during the after-credits scene. For Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, 2018, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099 goes to Earth 67. There, he ends up arguing with the 1967 Spider-Man over pointing as they point at each other. The scene used the same scene from the actual show. In this film, the pointing happens twice between the three Spider-Men. The first time is the scene where the three Peters were working together on the cures in the lab. At one point, Ned calls out to his Peter, and all three of them answer him, and the three end up pointing at each other. The second time is during the final battle scene where the three Peters are on the Statue of Liberty. While they were agreeing on who will handle which villain, they end up pointing at each other in the same fashion as the meme. The line of dialogue by Doctor Strange, "Scooby-Doo this shit," is not quite as improvised and random as it sounds. Doctor Strange is a Marvel character whose rights are now owned by the Disney Corporation, whilst the animated detective dog character of Scooby-Doo is owned by rival studio Warner Brothers. There has been a long-standing feud between these giants since the mid-1990s when Disney reneged on a gentleman's agreement between the two after Warner's let Disney use some of their Looney Tunes characters for the Disney live-action cartoon mash-up Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. Disney later reneged on the agreement when Warner's wanted a Disney character to officiate the basketball game in their feature film Space Jam, 1996, creating bad blood between the two studios. Since then, both studios have been inserting subtle digs at each other in their family films to annoy their respective boards and lawyers. This line by Doctor Strange is the latest in the long line. Whilst this movie is a Disney, Sony co-production, note it is not said by Peter Parker or Spider-Man, as Disney do not own the rights to that character, so had little control over the Sony-owned property. The character of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is mostly durable due to his superhuman biology. In this film, all three Peter Parkers, Spider-Man, have taken on serious physical impacts and endured some sort of injury that would have seriously harmed or killed a regular human being. For example, during his first fight with Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, Spider-Man ended up suffering broken ribs. He kept clutching his chest and ribs and told Aunt May after the fight that he may have broken his ribs. Then, during the scene where he was mourning Aunt May, he was sitting down on the roof of his high school. This shows that sitting down and resting had helped Holland's Peter to physically heal and recover. During the final battle on the Statue of Liberty, Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, Spider-Man, was electrocuted with dangerous amounts of electricity by Electro. After Doc Ock had intervened and stopped Electro, Garfield's Peter quickly recovered. Previously, in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, 2014, Peter was electrocuted by Electro during the final fight. This prompted Gwen Stacy to save Peter's life by overloading the city's electrical system, which eventually, and initially, kills Electro. He quickly recovered. Toward the end of the film, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, Spider-Man, was stabbed in the back by the Green Goblin after stopping Holland's Peter from killing the Goblin. When Garfield and Holland's Peters tended to him a few moments later, despite being in pain, Maguire's Peter states that he's been stabbed before and has recovered from it. In Spider-Man 3, 2007, during his first fight against Harry Osborn, New Green Goblin, Peter is stabbed by the New Goblin before he is forced to knock him out to end the assault. Peter's first costume in the MCU was the homemade, a self-made red and blue outfit which he wore during the first steps of his superhero career. At the end of the movie, he comes up with the Fresh Start suit, another red and blue outfit based on the classic comics costume and worn by Peter as he restarts his superhero journey.